Thank you, Madam. As you can tell, we're kind of 47 minutes behind or ahead of whatever. So I'll skip a lot of things, but we're simply to draw attention to the fact that we're grateful to all of you for coming, for having generously responded to our invitations to be here with us, for all the sacrifices that you've made, all the inconveniences that you've endured to be here these 2 days. We thank you for coming. Everybody talks about how great this has been, but if you had not responded and be here, there would have been, nothing to kind of save us. So we thank all of you for having come, with the very many other people who've been helping and supporting behind the scenes. It's also the wish of some that while we're thanking all of you too, this morning when we went to meet the Holy Father, we thanked him for a special, synod audience to us, because normally in July, the Pope takes a vacation, doesn't give any audience. So having gone out of the way to grant us audience today was special in its own expression of support for this particular theme and the way we wanted to, study it and promote certain, awareness of. At the same time, I had the chance of condoling with him this morning because one of the cardinals here in Rome also passed, one Cardinal Turkson. He used to be in charge of interreligious dialogue. And so while we dance, we also, whatever. So we thank you for all that. As you know, it came out at the beginning that the impetus, the real objective and the thrust for organizing all of this was because 3 years after publication of Laudato Si', several of us have traveled in different places and had a chance to talk about this encyclical in several contexts and several audiences. We've also had a chance to also get inputs, some of which were shared with you today. And the story is still alarming and very negative. So the initial ideas about this synod was, let us do a Marshall Plan. And as you know, Marshall Plan is always an emergency measure. And that was what came out as, saving our, the earth as our common home. This, having decided upon this, several other things crept in. We know we're all looking towards COP24. That will be next December in Poland. And therefore, as we usually do, we prepare for all the COPs. Laudato Si' got us involved in COP21. We prepared and held a similar conference for COP22. We did another one for COP23. And this, in a way, is also going to constitute an input that we shall be also be sending to the Vatican delegation to COP24. So that's a support for that. The other thing that this conference is helping us to achieve is the fact that in October this year, there will be a synod for the youth. And that was a big point about involving the youth so much in this conference. So again, there will be some expression of input from the part of the youth that can be, again, fed into the synod. Next year, also in October, we're looking at another synod on the Amazon. And again, that was a cause for involving Amazon and several indigenous groups over here. We're talking about Amazon, but we also, with Amazon, we're talking about all the indigenous groups. Normally, when you talk about indigenous people, you're probably thinking about Amazon, you're thinking about Australia, you're thinking about whatever. But there are also indigenous people in Stockholm, in Norway, in all of those places too. There are all indigenous populations in all of those places, and their habitats, the world, the area that they live is all under threat, and that's also something that we wanted to address. With all of this, my dear friends, the input, we've just been reminded that the input is on action. Action indeed. But as you know, an office like ours here in the Vatican is one step removed from where people live. So action on our side means several things. It means that We probably, if you want planting trees, you probably saw the Vatican is full of trees and greens. So a tree planting exercise is not what we can do here in the Vatican. It just means that action for us means encouraging local churches. Encouraging local churches and other NGO groups on the ground to be able to come out with concrete action. So ultimately, this is going to mean for us the establishment of partnerships. Partnerships of action, either as advocacy, either as encouragement, or the formulation of some plans of one kind or the other, so that this can be implemented. So what we have done today, in a way, is like bringing a network in different bodies and different organizations already actively involved. We, in material that will be available on net later on, will identify all of these groups which have been brought here. So you will get to know who was here. And knowing who was here and what they do, that is the beginning of the partnerships that we want to establish. And with this partnership, we create a global or universal solidarity, so together we can respond to the Pope's call to dialogue, to talk, discuss things together, and to implement some concrete action. So for us, the challenge is with pushing local churches to act, and it's going to begin, unfortunately, with Poland, because that's going to be the group preparing for COP24. And then with other groups like REPAM, like the group in the Congo Basin, and all of such groups. So that's going to be our turn, and kindly recognize that we talk about a lot of action, a lot of activities, but everything must begin with us. Everything must begin with us. We need to recognize at a certain point that our own contributions are worthwhile. And let's not postpone, or let us identify some other contribution from afar. It must all be us. And our contribution is the ultimate thing that we're talking about, because the ecological conversion we're talking about ultimately is a conversion of a person. Ecological conversion does not exist anywhere. It exists in persons who decide to do things differently. And that ultimately then is individuals, subjects like you and I, and everybody who's gathered here for this exercise. So trust in your own individual actions and your individual efforts to want to make a change. And let this happen. At the end of the day, and with this I will repeat my sentiments of gratitude and then conclude. When God entrusted the world to us, He asked us to do two things: to till and to keep. These are very crucial. It means the earth should serve our need. And recognize that if you take the first account of creation, okay, God said, God said, God said. All of those was God introducing order in a system without which it cannot become the home of the human person. So the orderliness of creation is necessary for it to become our home. If we do not respect the orderliness of creation, and that's what cosmos is, right? How many of you here use cosmetics? You know what cosmetics are? You know it. There are ladies here. Cosmetics are those things that you use to decorate and make beauty. And you do so because you put something in the right place. If you put your lipstick on the eyelashes and all of that, there will be no beauty. So cosmetics is from the word cosmos. And it's a reminder that when you have an order, you have beauty. And when you disturb the order, there's no beauty. And when there's no beauty, there's nothing that supports human life. So that's what all of this is about. And so after God had done everything and make the world our home, He entrusted to us that till and keep it. Make it serve your need, but at the same time, keep it. And the first person to put a question to God about keeping was Cain. When he killed his brother and said, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Yes, you are, and all of us are. And our brother is not just the one who's been killed, but the whole universe which is entrusted to us. So let us keep. The Cura de la Casa Comune is just about all that. I said we're already late. The wind of speaking is also blowing into. So I would want to stop over here. A lot of people have been quoted, and one of the quotes I think from Mahatma Gandhi is also that whatever change we desire must always begin with us. So let us be the actors in all of this. And for us, this is just one step. We'll be organizing some similar such things in the future. After this, the next event related to this that will come up is about the SDGs. And when we look at the SDGs, some of the issues that we've taken up will come up again. And we shall continue to stay in touch with you. So we thank you again for coming. We appreciate your contribution, your presence, and your everything that you helped us to achieve in this past 2 days. And I think when Pope Francis greeted 400 of you standing on his feet, and I asked him, Holy Father, what is it? He said, for me, greeting people is sacramental. And so for him, it's a sacramental exercise to greet everybody and, get everybody a kind of a personal touch. I think he was glad to have been able to greet all of you. And with every greeting, he also sent his own sentiments and expression with you wherever you go. We shall send ahead to Poland a 10-action plan, okay, which again, for the reason of time, we'd only put on our site. So the same site you consulted to bring you here, keep visiting that site. Other details about this, the speech of the Pope himself and other things will be put on that site so you can consult and make use of them anytime. But in the name of God, we thank all of you again for coming. And God grant you safe travel home, wherever you're going. And may God continue to bless what you do, bless your families, and bless your work. Thank you again for coming.